What a wonderful day to be here, World Elephant Day 2014, and as you know from our slogan, we're gathered here to celebrate the majesty of these wonderful elephants, these wonderful friends of ours, as well as alert the world to the perils that they're facing. The purpose of this burn is A, to alert South Africans to what's happening in the rest of Africa. There's not an elephant poaching problem in southern Africa yet, or shall I say in South Africa. However, to the north of here, it's absolute mayhem. Secondly, we want to remember the iconic burn in 1989. This 1989 burn was quite pivotal in bringing the slaughter that was taking place then to the attention of the world, and then led to George Bush banning the trade, the international trade in ivory. So the message we're putting out today, guys, is it is unacceptable to wear ivory, to use ivory, to trade ivory, and we need to get that message clear to our government, who's about to engage in, we believe, another very ill-advised venture into the trade in rhino horn. On that note, I'd like to call upon Dr Ian McCallum, who will address us on, shall I say, probably with slightly more spiritual significance of animals. So often we look at them merely as commodities, and we don't look at them for their intrinsic value, their intrinsic worth. Ian McCallum.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can all hear me. First of all, Francis, I want to say thank you to you for the immense energy and time that you have put into the Conservation Action Trust, and to embark on the work which you are doing in the name of elephants. I'll be very, very frank with you that it is not an honor for me to be here today, and neither is it a privilege. If I have any sense of privilege, it's the fact that I have been fortunate enough to have spent extended time with elephants. And anybody who has had contact with elephants in the wild, you will know exactly what I mean when I speak about the privilege. That's the privilege. It's of having had this contact and of being aware and alert to the intelligence of these creatures. May I remind you that for those of us here who have had contact with wild animals, we are not the speck, we are not the tip of the iceberg, as I've mentioned so often before. We are a speck of dust on the tip of that iceberg. And if that is the case, can you imagine just how difficult it must be for people elsewhere in the world to get excited about what we are doing today? Why should they actually care about elephants? Why should they care about rhino? Well, this is why I'm here. I didn't want to be here, but I'm here because it just seems like it's very necessary for me to do so. And to celebrate the fact that this is, after all, World Elephant Day. It is a remembering of an animal that walked here long before the very first European settlers ever set foot in Table Bay. They were here. They are older brothers and sisters. I also want to be here to be able to say thank you to people like Ian Douglas Hamilton of the Save Our Elephant Foundation, which also includes Michelle Greyling, now Michelle Henley. I want to remember people like Michael Chase and Kelly London of the Elephant Without Borders, with whom I've spent considerable time in Botswana. I want to remember the late Anthony Hall Martin, who literally gave his life for elephants, and when his young daughter was born, took that young child to a matriarch, who then moved back in amongst the herd and brought out a young calf to introduce to Hall Martin. That story is legendary. We hardly know anything about elephants. So what gives me credibility? What on earth gives me credibility to come and stand here and say what I'm saying now? Because it's so easy. It's so easy to criticize an event like this as something that's just exhibitionistic. Oh, we've done this before. It's so easy to point a finger, for me to point a finger at myself and say, Ian McCallum, Is this just some opportunity for self-indulgence? Is this an opportunity to be self-righteous? No. This to me is about acknowledging the reality of emotions, because so often those of us who support and do our best to speak for the voiceless are usually looked upon as soft, emotionally soft. Well, it has got nothing to do with emotional softness. This has everything to do with emotional reality. That you and I know the emotion of outrage. We know the emotion of despair. We know the emotions of joy, of hope. And why should we ever apologize for that? Don't ever call me soft, because I'm not sentimental. I'm not sentimental. But damn it, I don't want to feel outraged, frustrated, saddened by the possibility that we've passed a tipping point in the future of elephants, in the future of rhino. And you know, we could easily be talking about so many other animals, couldn't we? But why elephants? Well, as Francis has said, elephants not only for their own sake, but for what they represent. If we cannot understand fully the ecology, if we cannot protect something this big, how on earth do we begin to protect the little things? So we are grateful for the existence of elephants, for their size, for what I would like to call this grey mirror of our existence. Damn it, we are linked to them through a wonderful biological language of DNA. And that to me is spiritual, Francis. That's spiritual. It's not about something esoteric. This is about a sense of kinship with a creature that could you imagine what it would be like without them. My second part of credibility, apart from having spent time with them, was a Tracks of Giants expedition in 2012, where Ian McCallum and I walked, kayaked and cycled across southern Africa, following ancient migration routes. Why? Because we wanted to highlight the importance of corridor conservation. And as a psychiatrist, you can't do that until the corridors of the mind have been opened. I learned something very profound on that trip, that as much as I thought I knew about kinship species, it was only on that journey that I realized the full significance, what it means to be a keystone species. A keystone species is a species that if you take them out of the equation, countless other species suffer. The landscape suffer. I won't go into everything that an elephant has an influence on, but I will say this, and it's very sobering. Without going into any detail, human beings are not a keystone species. Sadly, if we were to disappear, nothing would miss us. Nothing. That's sad, you know. But am I grateful for keystone individuals, people like you, who are doing something about it? This is critical. Am I grateful for the fire department, who are here, yes, for very real reasons, but maybe it is a reminder that sometimes we start fires in order to put out fires. So this is an invitation to start a fire here, to put out that greater fire. May we be living fire breaks for the future of these creatures. I've done a roundup amongst my neighbors for trinkets of ivory, because it's one thing to have a symbolic burn. It's another thing to put in the real thing. And this is a difficult one, as my friend Don Pinnock says. Work in ivory can sometimes be exquisitely beautiful. This is an old piece of ivory. It's a carving, a bust of a woman. Who wouldn't want to have that in their lounge, in their study, as this has stood in my study for years and years? To see the world just through one eye is to see the beauty. But to be alive and well today, to be alive and alert today, we need to look at the world with both eyes, ladies and gentlemen. We need to understand that with beauty also comes sometimes terror, also comes some unspeakable suffering, also comes at a great cost to what? We have to be able to look at the world through both eyes if we really want to understand the concept of what I would like to call the rewilding of the human imagination. So, this is not symbolic. That is ivory. That will go into this pyre to allow itself to go back to where it comes from. And so in ending, I would like to think, taking some lines from a poem by Funwella Dowling, that somewhere in Africa today there's an elephant listening. That somewhere in Africa there's an elephant that is nodding its head and saying thank you for being a voice for the voiceless. And so let me close by reciting for you a poem that I wrote as a consequence of the Tracks of Giants expedition. To walk in the wake of elephants, to be small in a world of giants, to learn the spoor of silence and the soft rumbling eloquence of kin. To be in the skin of elephants, to learn the songs of seasons, the ancient lines of migrations, and to loosen our reason for fences. To wake up to the web of intelligence, to the wild origins of sentience, to find your voice and to raise it, that others may raise theirs for elephant. To find your voice and to raise it, so that others may raise theirs for elephants. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joshua Grierson, and an elephant never forgets. They're so sensitive, so wise, so caring. And the survival knowledge of centuries lives in the minds of the trophy bulls and old cows we see fit to kill. Sources from Don Pinnock article, The Wonder of Elephants.
Okay, hi, I'm Dr Zombuli. One elephant is killed for its tusks every 15 minutes. At the rate that they are being poached, elephant cannot reproduce quickly enough to survive this onslaught.
Hi, I'm Nick Mule. Elephants love reunions. They recognize one another after years and years of separation and greet each other with wild, boisterous joy. There's bellowing and trumpeting, ear flapping and rubbing, trunks entwine.
Michaela Strachan, wildlife presenter. More than 20,000 elephants were poached in Africa in 2013, slaughtered for their prized tusks that can fetch more than $1,500 for half a kilogram. Despite ongoing efforts to curb the ivory trade, including a new ban in the US and several highly publicised crushes of ivory, poaching will wipe out 20% of Africa's elephants in the next decade if we let current trends continue. For me, this fire shows my outrage at what is happening to elephants. And I think we must all show our outrage and shame anyone who has ever created a demand for ivory.
Working outside of wildlife reserves is as important as working within them. Poachers spend 80% of their time outside protected areas. A solution is to stop poaching before it reaches protected areas. A solution is to involve communities living on the edges of these parks. We must take our anti-poaching initiatives outside of protected areas to the towns and villages surrounding them. The anti-poaching strategy adopted in Kruger and other South African reserves fulfills Einstein's definition of insanity: to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result.
Joe Peterson. An elephant herd is considered one of the most closely knit societies of any animal. A female animal only leaves the herd if she's killed off or captured.
Dylan Moore, Cape Town blogger. Do you want to be the human beings that are responsible for eradicating elephants from the face of the earth?
Say your name clearly.
Hello, Nina van der Heever. The most important lesson I learned is that there are no walls between humans and the elephants, except those that we put up ourselves. And that until we allow not only elephants, but all living creatures their place in the sun, we can never be whole ourselves.
There's
Martina Conservation Action Trust. Satao lived in Tsavo East National Park in southeast Kenya and was celebrated as one of the last surviving great tuskers. They're bearers of genes that produce bull elephants with huge tusks reaching down to the ground. Satao was poached in May this year. Today we honor you, Satao. Rest in peace.
Dawn Jorgensen, Cape Town travel blogger. Elephants, humans and Neanderthals are the only animals known to have death rituals, and elephants will often mourn their deceased and cover their body with sticks. Even herds that come across an unknown elephant that has died will show similar respect for the deceased elephant.
Thanks, Dawn. Just throw the fire. Jax? Sorry, close to your mouth.
Jacqueline Laherd, travel publisher. We have to stop speaking about the earth being in need of healing. The earth doesn't need healing. We do. Ian McCallum.
We did an ivory once off sale, and elephant poaching has not been a problem since.
Hi, Claire Townsend from Safarius. Despite the ban on the international trade in ivory, the insatiable demand for ivory now threatens the survival of elephants in many countries. African governments, including our own, continue to accumulate stockpiles of ivory, condoning the concept that there is commercial value to ivory beyond its place in the wilderness. Stockpiling ivory undermines the international ban on the ivy trade.
Hi, Paul Symington, Conservation Action Trust. Living communities of plants and animals depend keenly on one another for survival. Elephants are keystone species, meaning a variety of other species depend on them for survival. We're not just killing elephants, but many other codependent species. That is, without elephants, savannas and tropical forest zones will actually cease to exist.